Right.
What's your plan?
What's your plan? What are the steps? You know, how are you setting yourself up? One of the things that I think is one of the most important things, and if anybody walks away with this, it's like just organization.
Yeah.
Put it down. Strategic planning, and learning those things like how to strategic.
But that's back to the business.
Yeah,
a lot of
just
times people see,
educate
or they
yourself.
learn their craft. Like, and let me use your coffee maker. I know how to roast coffee. I know how to package it. I know how to do this, but I don't really know the business side of it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, what does it mean to have a balance sheet, to
Right.
have
And
to
what's
go
the-
P&L,
And what's the price that it's going to make a profit?
Absolutely.
Right.
Every
And-
single thing.
Something that, and I don't know if you guys are here, but I used to get so mad at people that I would meet along the way, and they would say, Maurice, money isn't everything. And I would say,
Is
well,
everything
kind
money?
sir, you have $40 million, and you're saying that. And then one day,
You start saying.
I realized something, and it's crazy because what I paid to be an entrepreneur, I'm glad they have programs like this, because I don't ever expect somebody younger than me to pay what I paid.
Right.
Because now that I am here, like, I look back at my younger self sometimes, and I've actually done this. I'm just a weird guy, but I actually wrote a song thanking my younger self, because I'm like, man, the sacrifices you made.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like, I'm like, how did I find the strength to endure that? I don't think I'd be able to pay that again. Like, I don't think I'd even be willing to do what I did. And so I tell young people all the time, they're like, man, how did you do this? I'm like, dude, now that I'm here, I didn't have to do everything that I did. Like,
And also, you didn't have to do everything yourself. Because a lot of times we have resources that we don't want to take advantage of, or we don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't know what we don't know, but sometimes there's people along the way trying to help you, and because you feel that you have to do everything yourself.
yeah, and something that I tell people, man, I didn't know this when I was younger, but I know it now, because you might think you have the excuse, well, hey, I had to learn it the first time. There is this invention that was created. I don't know when it was created, but it's called a book. It's one of the most amazing inventions to man. And I don't know why, when I was figuring this out, I didn't just say, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of just hustling and grinding, maybe you should just do nothing for a year and just read a little bit. But that's why I appreciate programs like this, because it's like, I hope that no one pays what I paid. Like, and this is what the funny thing is, right? Success actually calmed me down. Success calmed me down. I accomplished something with my team that, well, I never dreamed in it. Because, this is the funny thing, too. For me, I don't know if this is for anybody else, but the whole time I was doing music, I was telling people I believed that I would make it. But in the back of my mind, I made my peace with God, like,
That if I don't make it, it's okay.
But
Just
when
do
you
it.
have to make your peace saying, hey, if it never happens, I acted like I knew this was going to happen, but I didn't really think it
That's
was.
about to fake it till you make it. And that's the same in businesses too, because nobody, and even though we're not music the same way, even your band is a little different, but I can't go to a potential client and say, well, I think I can do
think
this,
I can help you.
and maybe not, and I'm okay if you don't pick me. That's
You have to.
right. You have to project.
You have to show up
Right.
in every room, and this is
Like,
I
if you
tell
got it, you claiming it.
you show
Gotta
up
be
in
ready to
every
own it.
room like you were meant to be there,
Right.
because you were. Because for me, unlike you guys, I didn't have a talent, and I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I remember having a conversation, and I was praying one day, and I'm like, God, I don't do hair. I don't make baskets. I don't do crafts. I don't make dinners. I was thinking of what is the thing that I can do, that I can monetize, because I always knew I was an entrepreneur. I was selling my parents groceries. I mean, I used to make steakums and make cheesesteaks and sell them to the kids in the neighborhood out the back door. Like, so I was always entrepreneurial, but there was this talent that I do have, and it was to motivate. It's a gift, right? In church I would be exalt, that's me, right? I have all motivational gifts. And so when you're in my presence, you will be on fire. After I finish speaking, you'll feel like going and running through troops, leap over walls, conquer the world.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that about myself until I started with something. So the opportunity with my dad, that kind of opened up my eyes. Oh, okay, this is how this can work. And then I went on to learn federal contracts. I was selling Boeing aircraft parts to the federal government, built a company to $100 million, and I never saw an aircraft part.
Right.
Well, how do you do that? You show up in the room like you're meant to be there, and you recognize your transferable skills, and you transfer those transferable skills to everything.
Yeah.
The things that I'm doing now have nothing to do with a talent that I have, but it's more about the transferable skills that have been developed over time.
It is a skill that you have.
Yes.
It's connecting the dots.
Yeah.
You may not know what it is,
Yes.
but it is a skill you have. It's an innate skill that you have.
And that prepares you for your opportunities.
Correct. And so,
That present themselves.
so you do. Okay, besides the motivation,
it's
let's let
just
you know you do.
It's not an easy one to
Right.
define.
It's not right.
She was gonna get there.
Right.
No, you just helped me today.
Right.
This is my skill, guys. Everybody, I connect dots.
right.
I do it well. That's what I do all day.
Skill
That's
set.
it.
That's a good
a
skill
great
set.
skill set. And
I
if you
see
could do that,
opportunities
Right.
where others see obstacles is what I tell people all the time. And that allows me to be a problem solver, because remember, an entrepreneur is nothing but a problem solver.
Right.
And the more problems you solve, the more money you make,
Yeah.
period. And so I solve a lot of problems, and then I make sure that I solve expensive problems.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I solve big problems.
do you get the joy out of connecting those dots rather than cashing the check? Because I find sometimes I get the joy out of like the process.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, the
When you
paycheck,
get it-
yeah,
when
great.
you get it,
yeah,
right.
fantastic. But like the process, I love the process.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
One of the things that has kept me in now that, cause see, I think once I got to a place where I could, like, I had no mercy on myself. If you're watching this, I don't want anybody to do that to themselves. Like, I had no mercy on me. I drove myself I was a slave master to myself. I had to be the most disciplined. I had to outwork everybody. I had to do this, had to grind. But once I got to a point that I was like, hey, you know what? Dang, I worked so hard for this stuff, and it doesn't really make me happy. That really helped me to maybe look at life from 10,000 feet. And I was like, hey, look, man, that wasn't what thrills me. And this, if you're an entrepreneur, this will really help you. I don't know if y'all will understand this, but I actually like making money more than I even like having it. Like,
It's like getting that to that point, or
Just-
getting that contract, or bidding on something, or helping a customer make the dots.
Just knowing that, hey, an idea came out of my mind
That
that
I
you're
can
paying
pay
me for.
Right.
Like,
That's
that is
amazing.
more
That is.
exciting to me than even having a
process.
pile of
Really?
money.
Process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
right.
process,
Process.
same
Right.
thing.
Yeah, it's the
And
process.
but if you're watching this, I want you to just, give yourself some grace, man. Have mercy on yourself. When you're in the midst of it and you make a mistake, you're like, oh my God, it's da-da-da. But when you look back 5-10 years from now, you be like, dude, those mistakes didn't even matter. Like, as much as I
help, a lot
Yeah,
of times. 'Cause,
they weren't the end of the world.
Entrepreneurship is how to not only connect the dots, but also how to manage failure, because you're going to fail a whole lot.
Oh,
I mean, there's going to be a lot of missteps.
Oh, if you don't
And-
think you can fail, thinking of
Yeah,
failure,
if you don't know
cannot
how
be an
to deal with
entrepreneur.
that, absolutely, right? I mean, if you don't know how to deal with failure and how to okay, I fell down again, well, stand up.
Right.
And stand up with the knowledge of okay, now I know how that happened.
Right.
I've recognized how that happened. Now I can stand up
Yeah.
and I can continue forward. So the next time I fall, it's not going to be because of that.
Right.
It may
But
be because of something
that's
else.
what to say my dad used to always say. He said, everyone makes mistakes,
That's right.
and make a lot of them.
That's right.
He said, do not make the same one.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
'Cause we should have learned from that one. And now it may be similar, but it's going to be different, right? We're
Yeah.
going to take what we learned and we're going to move forward.
Yeah. Nelson Mandela has an awesome quote. I feel like the quote machine today.
Come on.
This is awesome.
doing it.
But Nelson Mandela says, I never lose. I either win or I learn. Right. And so when you think about that, it helps you to reframe failure. And so I felt like a failure after being on the cover of Black Enterprise magazine, being in Essence, building this big company, doing this thing. All of that felt like a complete failure because there was a time period after where I didn't have anything going on. And I walked away from the family company because it was time for me to go. And it was divine. You know, I prayed about it and it was time for me to, my season was over. But I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't understand, I knew that there was more, but I wasn't at the more. I was good where I was, I thought, right? And I had to believe, I had to walk by faith and figure out, okay, what is this gonna look like next? And I felt like a failure. And I remember saying to myself, Serena, what did you learn about yourself during this process, right? And then I started listing the things that I learned about myself. What did you learn about the people around you? I started listing the things I learned about the people. And those kind of exercises, you look at it and it's like, that wasn't a failure at all. This is a win. I just learned more in this season than I would ever be. Like, there's no other way I would get these lessons. And so you have to be able to reframe failures because you will feel like a failure. You will feel like quitting. You will feel like giving up. You will feel like going to getting a job. You will, like, all of it will happen, but you have to be so committed to the journey, and you have to have that kind of, you know, I'll cry, but I will not quit. I'm gonna wipe my eyes. You know how you got into fights when you were, I don't know if you got into fights when you were little and you start crying before you swing, you just, but it's not a cry because you're scared. See, I grew up in New York, so I grew up in projects in New York. You start crying and it's just, it's not because you're scared though.
Can I say, I'm not fighting anybody that's crying before the fight. I'm gonna be like, bro.
Because you already know. You already know. It's passion.
This means more to you than it does to me.
Yeah, he's like, if you cry with him, then you got it.
Just want it, you know.
Serena, you bring up an interesting point. I've had a couple of companies that I've started, and I have actually folded a couple of companies. The idea of quit, right? Framing that when something reaches its natural end, as opposed to like I did fail, or it reached its natural end. Okay, this thing is done. You know what I'm saying? I have pursued it. I took, I had a company, a cultural intelligence training company that I had for a number of years, and I was very naive in the beginning of it, and so there were a lot of missteps, And as I evaluated that whole process, I was like, oh, boom, boom, boom. If that would have been maybe different, or if I'd have taken different action,
it would have had a different outcome.
Right. But I still took those lessons and I applied them to the new companies and in the coffee business. And I'm like, okay, I already made those mistakes. But that idea of like, I'll cry, but I won't quit. Well, sometimes you got to understand when to shift your energy, because you've owned a number of companies. So there were times when you were like talking about your family business, that reached its natural conclusion. You were still an entrepreneur and passionate. So now you take all that energy and you were moving it into something else, because you still are you. You're an entrepreneur to the end. Yeah.